Wanna be an athlete. Everybody wanna rap on beats. Everybody wanna eat watermelon and fried chicken. Sorry, it's the black thing.
Good morning to you. Good afternoon to you. Good evening to you. Good late night hour to you. Whenever you may be watching this, but we appreciate your course as always for tuning in. Another episode of the A-League. Of course, I'm Keem. That's Jeremy. That's Shad. How's everybody?
Man, I'm doing great, man. I just want to wish Bronny a happy Father's Day. Yeah, man. And happy Juneteenth weekend to everybody.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Happy Juneteenth weekend, everybody. I'm good. Just happy to be here. Ready to talk about some stuff.
Are you at the house yet, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'm at the house.
Man.
I'm in the house right now, but yeah. I can go out
at the house. Congratulations.
Nice.
Man, wait, hold on. But before we get into everything, man, how stupid did D.L. Hughley look, man? This Joker having multiple shows inside with small crowds, nobody wearing masks. He passed out and he talk about, well, surprisingly enough, I also tested positive. You don't think, D.L. I'm thinking if you're having a show in the middle of a pandemic, no one's wearing masks, and you pass out in the middle of the show, you might just have what the pandemic is about. I don't think that's random. But just how y'all feel about, people trying to rush this open up and everything like that.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. Like, and the thing is, I'm surprised that D.L. Hughley is even doing, still doing shows right about now, like going on tour, and especially in Nashville, in Tennessee, that's becoming somewhat of a Corona hotbed. Like D.L. Hughley, like, you busy enough. You got a radio show. I mean, you heard all over the country. Like, just do your radio show. And if you got something that you want to go ahead and say, just do like a virtual comedy show. Like lots of other comedians are doing the same. Like, so I don't know. Dio is one of those things. He doing too much. Doing.
That was I was scared for him when I saw the video, and then when I saw how he said, he said, "Oh, by the way, I also have coronavirus." Like Rashad said. You don't have on a mask. Everyone's in close proximity in a small group place. It's just like, I'm surprised the other people don't have it too. So I don't know. People gotta be smarter than that. That's just
funny.
Ridiculous.
It's funny because someone else brought up like Chappelle had a show, and I was like, well, Chappelle's show was outside. You saw like how they were like distanced, and everybody was wearing masks sitting down.
Yeah.
So, or at least everybody they showed on camera was wearing masks.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean that's a little bit different because it was outside, and then like you said, distance. And so, yeah, man. But kind of staying on point with that, I don't want to get too much into the topics, but these are just some things I've been thinking about. I was talking to a high school coach earlier this week, and they had to put practice on a 2-week pause because someone tested positive. So he was just like, coach was just like, I could take all the necessary precautions as a coach, taking those responsibilities for 2-hour practices windows. The thing that concerns me is the other 22 hours of the day that I don't see them. The people what they do outside of practice, the people they live with, what those people do, before coming back to the house and everything like that. He's like, I can't control that. So the athletic association needs to figure something out quickly. Because this isn't going to go, these problems aren't going to go anyway anytime soon. And you think about that, if one player literally tests positive, especially on a high school level, everybody has to shut down. And then it just like, how are you going to have a season if that's the case when you have 50, 60 plus kids on a football team?
And Rashad, that's an interesting point because, I obviously deal with high school sports as well, but like, it's a little different than even if you go to college or pro sports where they go home to their house. Well, the kids will go home to their parents who, may be older, who may have health concerns, or like these aren't professional athletes and they're going home to their families. So, people give me the argument, well, the athlete will be okay. Yeah, that's probably true. They probably will be okay, but it's the people who won't be okay that scare me. And it's like, that's like how do you put high school athletes in a bubble, or I don't know. I start to wonder if having a season is the right thing to do, because there's no way you're gonna not have these pop up, breakouts like Rashad's talking about. You saw it with Clemson at the college level, LSU at the college level, and I'm sure we're gonna see it at the high school level too. And it's like we can't, either we're gonna have to accept the consequences of it or not do it at all. Because there's this in between we're doing. It's not stopping anything, and it's not, you can't really do this the right way doing it like they're doing it right now. So,
And the thing is with high school football and with even college football, I just feel like there's almost no way that you can possibly put all of that in a bubble, because there's so many athletes. Because a football team, a high school football team, can have upwards of like 90 to 100 players on their roster. Same thing with a college football team. So I just think that the logistics of it, all it takes is one positive test, and then all of a sudden everything just goes kaput. At least with other sports that don't necessarily have as many players, you could possibly have like one positive test, and maybe you could get by with that, because because those sports don't have the number of players that are on their rosters as in football. So I'm really doubting. Like Dr. Fauci even said the same thing earlier this week when he was talking about how he feels like it's probably not all that feasible that the NFL could even have a season without a bubble. There's really no way that you could really do that, because there's just so many players that how are you going to keep all these players isolated? And then on top of everything else, all it takes is really one, because for sure that there's no way that they're going to stay in that quote unquote bubble for a whole 4 or 5 months. I mean, it's just impossible almost. I mean, it's going to happen some ways, some way or not. So I just think that that's, something that, I'm on the same side as you, Jeremy. Like, I don't think it's, I really don't think it's really all that feasible for, for football to have seasons this year. And if they don't have seasons, then really and truly, I just think it's something where it's really, just for everybody's safety at this point.
I just touched on something you said during that. It's, you had mentioned these professional leagues and them having somebody testing positive. Well, they got access to tests every day.
True.
So they can at least catch it really early. Whereas in a high school situation, you know, just the Georgia High School Association here in Georgia, it's pretty much a questionnaire. Hey, have you been in contact? Have you, they take your fever and that type of stuff, and you don't really get tested. So you could have kids not being tested throughout an entire season and having COVID and spreading it throughout the whole team and spreading it throughout teams they play against. And now you got another breakout that's just because one player tested positive or has disease and doesn't know they have it. So I don't really know. Unless there's a way that we can test high school athletes as well, I don't really know how it makes sense. And even at the NFL level, the disease can catch you so quickly. And if you're not tested every day, you're like, it doesn't make sense, because you can test, come back negative, and then go catch it on the way home, and then have a negative and be able to spread it the next day. So I don't know. There's a lot of questions, and it's getting to a point where it's, either you're going to be in a bubble or you don't have a season.
I was
Every
thinking,
level.
I was having this talk yesterday with one of my friends and stuff about like college football, how the only way it could work. So, you talk about the professional leagues is kind of easier per se to do a bubble because you have 32 teams. College, high school is a little different. So I'm thinking like maybe in college the way it worked is have each conference bubble and you wouldn't have a national championship. But then that's a whole thing in itself, because even if you did have a national championship, you would have no non-conference games the entire season. So, people would be like, oh, this is just the best SEC team versus the best Big Ten team. I'll just throw out a random conference. And then, then they'll put an asterisk next to it. And then it's like, this national championship didn't count because it was the bubble season. So I don't know how college football is going to do it. And I definitely don't think high school football can do. I'm still gonna write these high school previews. We need something to do this summer. But yeah, man, I don't know about college and high school. I mean, I definitely don't know about high school, but college, I don't know if they want to do that. Have a bubble season with like the SEC just plays in Birmingham all year. Um, I
And
don't because you got to think about practices too. Where are the different teams gonna or not the many fields in Birmingham? You have UAB, and UAB. So I mean, like I don't know.
and Rashad, like you, like people got to realize these college sports, like these kids live on a college campus. So I mean, where do you go when all the parties happen? The college campus just attracts these people.
Oh, the campuses can't open. They can't open, man.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
if the campuses can't open and you can't have people in school, how can you have a college sports season? Because it's, you know what I'm saying? Like these aren't professional athletes, so we can't bring them into this situation if you don't even think it's safe to have school. So it seems like every door we open, there is a Pandora's box that you have to open with each door. Because if you bring just regular students back to school just so you can have a college season, okay, now you're exposing these college athletes to people coming from all over the country, just coming to this one place to have school. Okay, now you want to have them in the same dorms. Okay, now everybody touches everything, blah, blah, blah. We all know how that goes. And then you have the social stuff that comes along with a college town, which is the parties, the
Everybody with each
bars,
other. Yeah.
everybody on the buses. You know what I mean? Like that's stuff. It escalates because you want to have a college season. I don't know how you're gonna do that. I mean, I could see high school doing it before I could see college doing it, because at least high school goes home to their parents, and the parents can kind of keep them
I don't know about that. I don't know
isolated.
about that, Jeremy. Because it's like you got to think like if you live with your cousin, your grandma, and you know what I'm saying. Like all those folks go out to work. You know what I'm saying. Like if grandma work, if mama work, if uncle work, and they all coming back. You know what I'm saying, to the house. Like you got to go outside your room to eat dinner. You know what I'm saying. It's not like, and even if they bring the dinner to you, what if your mom got it and then she handing you the plate to your room? So is I think it's more of a concern with high school actually than college, because college, I don't see why a college camp. You got to think like these college campuses that are like students will return in the fall. You're talking about 20,000 plus people walking in like a confined space together. No way that's happening.
And that's what I was afraid of. And when I was just living in Athens, when this started happening, I was like, oh man, these college students are here. And then when they sent them all home, I was like, okay, Athens will be okay. And then I was like, okay, what if they come back? Because now I don't know where these people have been. I don't know what they've been doing. And now they come back and flood and infect Athens. You know what I mean? Like, and now we have a breakout here because all these people are now back in town. It's been, I think Athens has like 300 cases, or has had 300 cases. It's not been as bad as other places in the state, but like I could see as soon as they come back, it just skyrocketed into like thousands of cases because they bring the students back.
And then on top of everything else, we also had to consider and remember that these athletes just aren't athletes. They're also students as well. So if you put all of them in a bubble for the literal purpose of, playing college football or whatever sport that they may end up playing, how are they going to, get to class? I mean, are they going to do all
Did they care about class in the first place?
I mean, they may not, but it's something where you got with some kids, it could be something where maybe they don't even necessarily have their eyes on the NFL. Maybe maybe it's something where they're probably thinking like, okay, football is all fine and good and everything, but I just they may be like they may be like a business major or whatever, or they may be in like their sophomore season or their junior season, and they're probably thinking like, okay, like I'm literally like being isolated in say like Birmingham or wherever in the country just to to play football. Like, am I literally going to have, access to go outside, like, the bubble or whatever, for like, who's going to bring me, like, how am I going to get all of my classwork? Is all that going to be done online? But then again, you got a lot of students that are probably going to end up be taking online classes this year anyway. So
Right. That's exactly what I was going to say, Keem. A lot of these kids, I mean, probably all of them, because the colleges shouldn't open. Like I said, 20,000 plus people should not be, like, I don't care mask or not. Like, that just doesn't make sense. So, I mean, and then, going back to another thing that Jeremy was saying with Athens, especially those towns and those colleges with a lot of, kids and athletes and stuff. I mean, athletes, as you guys know, covering high school sports, even at Georgia State, like, the tennises, the golfs, like, those kids come from all over the world. So it's like,
and wow, I blanked. But yeah, that definitely scares me more than anything. I'm trying to remember what I was going to say. Wow, I can't remember what I was going to say. I'm blanking, but just that's the scary thing, man. It's like having all these people coming from all over the world. Because I know Georgia's tennis team, they bring people from everywhere, and it's like, you don't know what they've been doing. They have to travel to get here, and yeah, it's really scary.
soccer's the same way. College
shout out
soccer,
the point. Shout out the point.
right?
Oh, I remember what I was going to say now. Sorry, Akeem. But I don't even think this is a conversation about just like the Georgias and the LSUs of the world. Like, this is an interesting topic for Georgia State, Tennessee State, or some schools where people aren't really thinking about the NFL and they aren't making a whole bunch of money anyway. So, like, why put your kids through that if they're not going to get their education? Because that's what most of those people are there for. It's like, they're not playing so they can make billions of dollars for a university, and they're going to be on national TV every game anyway. Like, that's just not. That's like 10% of college football is on TV every week. So I don't know. I think a lot of these smaller schools and a lot of these smaller conferences are just going to be like, the heck with it. We don't even need to do this. And it's like, okay, now this is the problem with college athletics altogether, is because you got this a class of just elite people at the top, and they drive all of the decisions based for the smaller schools, who just kind of have to just drag along and make do with what they can because of how lucrative the top of the business is. And that's you're gonna see that's gonna come into play, because the SEC is already like signed off and said, well, we're good, we're going back to school, we got to make sure we're gonna be back. But if I'm the Sun Belt, or I'm a Division II program, like, I'm just like, I'm not gonna win the championship. I don't got the TV dollars coming in. I probably can't have fans, so I can't fund my athletic program because I'm not going to make any money. It's going to cost me more money to play a season than it would to not play. So I don't know. I mean, we shouldn't even be thinking about the money, but unfortunately, that's why people are pushing for this. That's why people want sports to come back, because of money. It's like you can't miss out on like the money that's going to come in the fall. So I don't know. I mean, it's not just about the SEC schools, not just about the Big Ten. People need to start making these decisions based off the people who they're putting in harm's way to do this.
Even a lot of these schools, like you said, not just on a not just on a an athletic level, but also an academic level. I mean, all of us, of course, we went to Georgia State, obviously, and one of the things that that we always knew is, every day when we would walk through state or whatever, it would always be something where we would always see people from from all over the world, because it was so diverse. But looks like somebody went ahead and joined us. What's going on, E?
Y'all, I've seen y'all probably touched on everything, but I'll just jump right quick. I do agree. You guys make good points on, like, there's so many layers to it. And even, I think it was like last week that Notre Dame, I think they said that they were going to put on halt like the recruiting process. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but how they were going to handle like recruits coming on campus and stalling that for the time being. And then, like, because of what's going on. So they were like, and then I just was thinking when they announced it, it was just like, well, I mean, you still have, I think that's like not least of your concerns, but like you still have players on your campus that are going to be interacting with fans. So like doing that is like really not moving the needle too much. That's not really that like crazy of a safety measure because everybody's still being put in harm's way. Like Ohio State did the same thing with I think the AD said he was like, well, we're only gonna have like 20,000 fans in the crowd to try to like contain this, or like I don't know, like these measures don't really seem to be.
Only 20,000.
Yeah, right. I was like, bro, 20, like it's wild, right? Like I was like, yo, these people, nobody's taking it seriously. So like the measures, like yesterday, I'm sure you guys already said it, but yesterday with the report with LSU players and the Clemson players and all that, it's like I mean, these coaches and these programs have pushed so hard to start the season, so we're gonna keep hearing reports like this. And these programs should have to be upfront as possible with disclosing these numbers and actually like being detailed with like whatever practices they're trying with these spring practice, summer, whatever, like these workouts and training, whatever they're doing, they need to be very upfront about exactly how they're going about being like safe because I don't know if I was a parent, it's like, and I'm sending my son, and he's about to like, I want to know what exactly you're doing because clearly it hasn't made a difference. It hasn't helped much because 23, and then you see like 30, like bro, these numbers they're not small. Like that's a pretty big deal. And so yeah,
They were two.
you
They
guys,
were two initially when they
there were
first got to
two.
campus. There was two people from Clemson that tested positive, so they've caught this since they've been there. That's the
Oh,
scary part.
yeah, and that took off real quickly because you said two. That was only announced like
It was 2 weeks ago,
2 weeks of this month, bro.
right
Yeah.
around the time they
So
got to campus. So that must be when they caught it. They also protested as a team. They've also worked out for 2 weeks. So somebody must have caught it somewhere, brought it to the team, and it spread. So
spread like
LSU,
that.
I think LSU had one or two when they initially got to campus. So
Mm.
that's why this hits me so hard because it's like they had small amounts of cases when they first got there, and then it's exploded since they got there. And they're in a bubble right now. Like they're in the safest environment that they're going to be in coming in through this season. Like this is the most controlled it can be. Once other people start coming to campus, all bets are off. I'm sorry I interrupted you, but you can finish it.
No, bro. No, I mean, like, not. It just goes back to again, like, there's still a lack of, regardless what we say from a country standpoint, still like an education on exactly how to attack this. So they can say, I think the phrasing from LSU was like, well, we're being as cautious as possible and blah blah blah. I don't. Nobody knows what that means. So they can do. It seems like they can say whatever and be as cautious as they want, and then like these numbers are going to keep rising. I don't think this is going to slow down. 20 this week, and next week we'll get another report. It might be 40, 50. I mean, it's like, bro. So yeah, they've got to. This is on their hands. They're pushing so hard for this season to start on time. Like last report. I mean, hearing a report like a couple of weeks ago was like, yo, they want to start at 2021 for spring, and that was maybe an option. Like I mean, it's as much as we love CFB and all of us are big college football fans. It's like, I mean, that might not be a terrible idea just because if you guys don't know how to contain it, you're putting these kids with no type of financial gain in harm's way. So like that's just to me ethically, like that's wrong. So yeah.
And how you feel about high school, Eric?
What? Say again?
How you feel about high school? How do you feel
What
about
about
high
high
school?
What do you mean?
Like high school returning, high school football.
Oh, high school football returning, same
Yeah.
thing. No, it's on along the same lines. That even in itself, bro, like I'm pretty sure if you have a college program with as much resources as they should probably be able to, or networking, they could get like some type of structure in place. I can only imagine high schools can't do that and can't return. It's not gonna be possible, feasible in this amount of time. But I haven't honestly like kept in a touch with like how high schools are going about it too. As far as like how they want to return and how they want to get the basketball season. I know a lot of like some of the high school kids we talked to, like as far as AAU, some of them they finally like canceled the AAU season. They made the announcement Nike did like a couple weeks ago. So a lot of the high schools are already looking towards high school basketball their season, but they honestly are still in the dark about that too. They really don't know when they're going to start. So a lot of them will tell you, I don't know. So yeah.
And baseball here is like they're doing travel ball season. So I found that interesting. That like they're just playing. So, but I'm almost at a point with this that I'm just like just hearing some of the reports of the, like you said, the Ohio State thing where they're saying we're going to have 20,000 people here. NASCAR today will have 5,000 fans. So
Why?
I actually got tickets for this
Wow.
race.
5,000?
Yeah, there'll be 5,000 fans at Talladega today, and I had tickets for this race. And the friend I was going with texted me earlier last week. He was like, "Hey, do you want to come with me?" And I was just like, "Yo, I'm literally in quarantine right now, so I can't go." So, and I was just like, "Why do this? Like NASCAR's been doing so great without having fans there." Anyway, some of this just sounds silly to me, and I'm just like, okay, if we got to go to the measures to a point where they sound silly, maybe that means we shouldn't be doing them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm at a point where either we're gonna just do it all out or don't do it at all. Like there's no in between for me at this point, because when you start doing it halfway, okay, well you bring 20,000 people in there, that still don't stop a spread. You're still exposing people. People still are going to get sick. People still are putting players in danger. You still have the same amount of danger as you would if you had 90,000.
You just think about human nature. If someone scores a touchdown, what's the first thing you do in the stands? I'm going to turn around to the nearest stranger and I'm going to high five them. Like, that's just human nature if I'm at a game as a fan.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
The fact that you're yelling spreads it.
Yeah.
Like, that puts particles in the air. And then also, I'm just like, if it's telling me that, hey, I feel like this is wrong and I feel like we shouldn't do this the right way by doing it halfway. So if it's not done right, why do it at all? Like I said, but then it's like, if you do it, forgot my point, man. Either way, people are
No, but
in
even on top, no, but like if you're saying what you're saying is like black and white, like even if you look at the Premier League, the Spanish league, soccer leagues over there, bro, they haven't. Have you seen their games, bro? It's straight. It's no fans. It's nothing. They're not even trying to.
and we're talking about football.
Yeah,
Like the nature of football is literally you put your hands on somebody else and you sweat on them for 2.5 hours. Like there's no way you can socially distance that.
Yeah. And all the coaches are old. All the coaches are old in football. But, what do you guys think when the president of the United States has an indoor event with how many people? 5,000 plus, 10,000 plus people in an indoor facility? And what does he say on stage? We need less tests.
He actually said that. But you know what? I ain't surprised. I am not surprised at this point. Like, and the thing about it was, even with that whole thing, was that they was trying to hype that whole thing up. Like there was gonna be like 20,000, like there's gonna be like so many people there. There was even talking about an overflow into the streets of downtown Tulsa, and it turns out that they only
Black
got
Wall Street
200. What a that was a dud. That whole thing was a dud. It was such a dud. I mean, but that entirely was what that was.
It lets me know people are actually listening. Like it's like I saw something I don't know if this is true or not, but I saw where he was saying that people wearing masks in public was like people were disagreeing with him, and I'm just like, why is it even about you? Like you're one person out of how many billions of people on this planet, and we all could catch
people
this.
Losing family members,
whole
friends,
families have died from this,
classmates, and you're talking about you. And the crazy part about this is like when you see, I don't know if you guys have seen any of these posts, but when someone's like, my uncle died of COVID, my dad died of COVID, my niece, my 23-year-old cousin died of COVID, you look at the comments, and the comments are like, well, it was really the kidney failure they had, and it's like, how inconsiderate can you be? Like, someone just died, and you're still trying to call this thing fake. Like, why is this a conspiracy? Why is this the government, the media always trying to control us? It's even with the protests. It's like the media won't show you this, and then you're showing me something that the media showed you. So it's like, what are we talking? I don't know. I'm going on my soapbox, but yeah, somebody else take it over.
The more educated this country becomes, it seems like the more gullible it gets. It's like you worry because somebody says, okay, like the media is controlling, blah blah blah. Don't listen to this message. But the only reason you're thinking like this is because somebody told you to think that way. It's because you've heard the president say stuff that agrees with your insecurities about life. So now you want to put it on someone else when really it's what you say the media and the people who are reporting the facts about this disease and this pandemic, you just feel afraid of it, so you want to go with the opinion that. So it's like either way, you're still being controlled. It's just by someone different.
Bro, I don't get it. To what Shaw was saying too is like I don't get why it's such a like it's like you're irritating people. Like it's the people who want to believe it's fake. Like it's like they're like, "I'll get over it." They're like, like they kind of like try to twist it and make it seem like it's like the strong versus the weak, like which is what all his people do. All of his followers, they try to make it seem like whatever it is that you believe in or that we're being cognizant of, they like make it seem like you're being weak. So like that's literally how they phrase everything. So us wearing masks and being like trying to be as safe as possible, it just makes us, we're just like we're fearful, we're living in fear, we're scared. I'm not gonna do that. Like they make it seem like you're obviously we've seen the protests of how you're like they think like you're trespassing on their rights and all this. Bro, I don't understand where it comes from because as you said, like we've had so many deaths, bro, that like at this point, I'm sorry, but if all those people at his little rally yesterday, if they don't believe in it and then they get it, so I can't feel bad for them, really. Like, bro, at this point, it's already been enough of information. We've seen enough examples of it. People are like literally still grieving, and this man doesn't care at all. So like, I've like the same thing has been in my head where I'm like, yo, I don't understand when I see them arguing about it and see them like saying to media, it's like, bro, they literally never acknowledge anything. Like his people never acknowledge anything. They just will literally attack any other idea or whatever is going on. They'll attack you for attacking him, but they'll never attack the issue. So they don't care about COVID because they think we're using COVID to criticize him. So they're like, well, forget COVID then because y'all just using that to criticize him. It's like, bro, that's not it. It's not about him. That once again, everything is not about him. Like even his own followers do that. It's like, bro, it's not about him. We're talking about the way he's handled this. It's been terrible. It's like, bro, when we look back on how he handled this, it's like really, it's one of those things. It's like it's pretty catastrophic, bro. It's pretty bad. He did not do a good job of handling this at all. But like, you can't bring that up to them because then they think you're just trying to pick on him and they coddle him like he's a child. I'm like, bro, this dude is a 70, whatever, 6, 7 year old, and they treat this dude like I don't get it. I've never seen anything like it in my life. How he gets protected, this is an old man, and they act like he's a child, and we're picking on him. And I'm like, all right, now we have a COVID, a real life pandemic, and that's just a pandemic is being used to stop Trump. Like, okay, so I I don't know anymore. Like, I don't want to be like it's a thing where
how do you
speaking
explain
about
to
it.
other countries?
Yeah, right. Like, bro, they just. And that's why a lot of them will say like they'll put it on China. They'll blame it on China.
Did they make it up too?
It's like, I guess so, Jeremy. Maybe we just got this whole thing wrong because at the end of the day, like even speaking about it, I feel bad because people, like you guys said, people have lost family members off of it. So even like speaking to it in this way, I never want to come across as political, but it's like, bro, it is what it is, bro. Like this is real life. Like you cannot sit up here and say that it's fear and all these things and calling people weak for believing in it. All right, cool. Y'all go ahead and go outside and do what you do. Act normally.
Well, that just goes back to my friends. Like, I don't know if I told this story already on the pod before, but right before it shut down, the week of the conference tournament, SWAC basketball conference tournament, we're in the media room and we're waiting for the coaches to come up. And you know, I voted that day. It was like a preliminary, and I was like, "You guys voted?" And then they were like, "Nah, like I haven't even changed my address." And then someone else was like, "I'm not really a political person." And I was like, "Come on, guys, you got to vote." And like these last couple months have just proved everything is political. Like everything is political, bro. So like, yeah, you need to educate yourself and vote, even if you're not a political person, because wearing your mask, protecting yourself, and not killing other people is something that's considered political. Something that the black and white thing is considered political. Like, why is this like the tweet said? Why is racism a debate? Like, why do you have to oppose everything that we say? Why? Like, why does it bother you so much that it bothers us to see a Confederate monument in front of and a Confederate flag in front of our face? Why does that offend you? That's a whole nother thing. I didn't want to get into that in the first half, but it is what it is.
And the thing is, even with the even with the protests, that's the thing that's so different between what happened in Tulsa and the protests that we've been seeing on the streets. Because at these protests we've been seeing on the street, people have been wearing masks. At that rally in Tulsa, or whatever the Sam Cell you want to call it, there was no masks. Nobody was standing 6 feet apart in social distancing, and really and truly, like we said, there wasn't even that many people there. But I think that, like I said, all of this has really shown exactly like everything really is political. And I think that on top of everything else, one of the things that is so that is just so telling about how we, well, maybe not us, obviously, but just how this whole thing has been handled with the pandemic in the United States is they're actually talking about like how to reopen sports and how to do it safely. I mean, NASCAR is doing the best thing that it can, golf's doing the best that it can, and other sports are talking about that. We're going to get to that in a little bit. But did you see that video from New Zealand at that indoor rugby match? Filled in New Zealand, filled, fans all over the place, because they actually have competent leadership that was like, okay, let's handle this early and let's get back to let's eventually get back to our lives, where we're still, having a conversation really that's all about money.
Yeah, so the most exciting thing that's ever happened for me in my 2020 was I got into a little debate with Lexi Brown the other night from the WNBA. Don't do that, E. Oh, hey. I said, hey, E, hey. I don't know about y'all, but the other night I got into a debate with Lexi Brown, from the WNBA. Yeah, but PFO, what is it? 4P4, Lexi Brown. But, yeah,
Stop
man.
playing.
Me and the WNBA player, we was having a little back and forth, a little cha-cha-cha, you know what I'm saying? And she was pretty much saying, like, it's stupid to say that the return of sports it's gonna distract people from the issues going on. And I'm like, I think you're really underestimating how easily our generation gets distracted. Like, it's say even if you went out and scored 55 points, like the talk of the timeline the next morning is Lexi Brown scored 55 points. And I said, if Seattle wins again, if Seattle wins the championship, then the talk of the timeline is the debate of, if Breonna Stewart was a man, how much coverage would Breonna Stewart get? And she would be considered LeBron. She would be considered and then the same debate we hear all the time, it'll be dominating the timeline. I'm like, even just look at this past week. J. Cole drops a response to No Name, and the talk, like, it literally shifts from the actual protest to the oppression of Black women's voices. And earlier, like I think this week or last week, I saw the light skin versus dark skin argument, and the fact that light skinned women need to acknowledge their what do you call it, privilege. And it's like, it's been so many times within this fight that people have already been sidetracked by small things just because they got bored with the general message of the kind of movement. And it's like, to think that the return of sports, especially in a society with a consumer base that's so sports starved, we haven't had sports in 5 months by the time they start playing at the end of July. to think that that's not going to be a distraction at all. Like, it might not be a huge distraction to where everybody gets off course, but to think that's not going to distract and kind of take away attention from, you know, what people are fighting for, I don't think is a stupid idea. That's what I was telling her. And we were going back and forth about that. And she started
I think
responding after a while and tweeted, I think it's weird that grown men obsess over women's economics and the economics around women's sports.
oh no, Rashad, I think I agree with you, and I think that I think we look at it differently because for us, when sports start, like our mindset has to change about how we're watching stuff, if that makes sense. So maybe she doesn't see it, or maybe the average consumer doesn't see it because they think, okay, well, I'm able to watch sports on TV and then turn it off and then go to my job, and they think they can compartmentalize it. But in reality, you know, as journalists, we see it, and as sports lovers, that's why we're sports journalists, is because we love sports. So immediately when sports come back, we start thinking about it, we start talking about it, we start writing about it, we start tweeting about it, and we have our timelines that are based. A lot of the stuff we follow is based off sports, so it may be a little different for us. But then also, like, I can talk to the average Joe about sports, and they know more than you would think they would know. And it's like, I can't go and talk to them about a political issue dealing with the protest. I always get I'm uneducated on this topic, or I don't understand, or help me understand. See, I get those questions, and I'm like, if I was talking about LeBron and the Lakers, you would be able to tell me that. So why is it that you can't tell me this stuff? It's because we had sports in the way before, and this is the first time since I've been alive where this is the only thing in the forefront. This is the only thing we're talking about. This is our water cooler talk for the first time since I've been alive. So yeah, it would be a distraction, and yeah, it would take people's imaginations away from what's going on right now. So I mean, it's not really that hard to understand, to be honest. So
And she kept saying we're going to use that playing thing to use our platforms to continue to speak out on these issues, and we're going to bring more light to it. I was like, well, that's what y'all been doing for the last X amount of years, and the needle hasn't honestly been moved that much outside of you guys' CBA. And I think that's when she tweeted, I don't know why grown men are concerned with women's sports. All right, I'm gonna stay off that part, but but yeah, man, that's pretty much like it. Like, the needle hasn't been moved that much. Like, you guys have been talking about this, but if people want to watch basketball, they're literally only gonna care about the basketball. Only tune in to the basketball. Like, in a post game interview, if you're like, yeah, man, George Floyd, blah blah blah, you know, defund
you
the
saw what
police.
happened with
Like,
Cap.
no
They
one's
don't care.
exactly. No one's
Nobody
gonna
cares,
care,
bro. We underestimating. Like, we understand what sports fans are and how they're built. As Jeremy said, journalists is different for us. I love that was a great point because it's different for us. We can analyze, see both ends, but we're also black men first, so there's clearly a different perspective. We look at everything, so that's without saying. So we have a totally different point of view of all this. But yes, like she's on the side of like Ed Davis, and I think Ed Davis said something like last week or so was like, I feel like, you know, if we play, it's a bigger impact because then we can put money into the communities. And then he's also like, but then he flipped on that and said, well, we shouldn't have to put so much money into the communities all the time, and our government should do a better job, which is true in itself too. But you see, they're both like, there's no right answer to any of this, bro. At the end of the day, like, all these players everybody has their own different method or way they want to approach this and figure out. But it's at the same time, you go into that bubble, it's literally a bubble, bro. Like, and that's exactly how sports fans are. They are in a bubble. It's like not even a metaphor. It's real. Like, they only care about you playing sport, you know, competing for a championship. They want LeBron to get his whatever championship they want, whatever. Like, that's all they care about. You're not going to draw the attention that you think you will. That's the side I feel I'm personally on. Like, I don't think they're going to draw the attention because, bro, no matter what, there's nothing. Those players are quarantined. There's not many other like actions they can get involved because, first of all, they're going to be limited to their campus, to their area. So that's all they can really get involved in, which is in and of itself, like, that's just, you're just limited as an athlete in that circumstance. But also just like, bro, for a country that lives and dies by its sports, and it has been like salivating for it to return, and just for a distraction and looks for distractions. You can't even have a conversation with the average American when you want to talk about black. He looks for a distraction. Like you know what I'm saying? Like as a black man, as a black woman, if you talk to just any other, white individual or non-person of color or whatever it is, they don't even. Most people are uncomfortable talking about race. They want to look for a distraction. They want to talk about. You hear like people be like, well, yeah, my favorite athlete is all my favorite athletes are black. Like you hear Bill Simmons say something like that. Cool. But they don't want to talk about the actual, like, what the plight of the black athlete has been, plight of black people in general. That's uncomfortable for them. Like, so you can't have these discussions with it. And you're not going to be able to do that in a bubble. They're going to, as soon as you start dribbling, as soon as that clock starts, that's a wrap. That is a wrap, bro. It's not going to be what you hope it is. I know that you feel like as LeBron James can do something. And that man is just as limited as the 100th man on the roster when it comes to American, when it comes to race. This is something that this country is infested with. So
Beyonce sent out a letter to Louisville people telling them to arrest the cops that murdered Breonna Taylor. What did that do?
What did that do?
Are the cops still?
How many celebrities have been tweeting the same thing? Breonna Taylor, arrest Breonna Taylor, the cops who killed her and all that. Bro, we're trying, as everybody's trying to pull it in and draw more attention, and it's still dragging their feet. The Louisville chief officer or whatever, sheriff, has said, like, they're going to look into, I think the phrasing was look into removing the officer.
They passed Breonna's law before they even arrest the cops.
Before they arrest the cops.
So you admitted that it was wrong by passing the law.
It wasn't the law, but still haven't done anything. So bro, that's why I'm on the side of, bro, it has to be for a circumstance of what with the topic at hand, for race, as extreme as it is, you got to have extreme action to counter it. You got to I give her all the kudos in the world, like Renee Montgomery, like, bruh, for somebody to step away from it and say, I'm just going to dedicate my entire the season and all that to it. Like, bruh, she's a legend in my book already, because I know I can't do both at the same time. So, I got to have both feet in. So I'm going to take a year off. I'm 33 years old. I've done all, whatever. I need to take a year off and dedicate this to, and that's what it takes. Like, everybody flamed Kyrie for wanting to sit out. Like, bro, he knew how serious this is. We have a chance here. It's a window. That's how sad it is in America that to fix race, you get a window. You get like a second to try to make an impact. So, bro, like, if the bubble stuff, you go into it, I already know the second it starts, it's all about, can LeBron James catch Michael Jordan? That's going to be a discussion. ESPN's going to run it all day long. They're going to debate Kawhi Leonard, can the Clippers stop? Who's going to win? That's all it's going to be about. George Floyd never happened. None of that ever happened. It's going to put it into it. So, and plus, I disagree with Lexi on that too. But go ahead, Keem. Okay.
Oh, it is what it is. No problem. Mm-hmm. But I also think that it's sort of two sides. Like you said, there's we only get like a certain window to be able to discuss these issues, and like you said, then all of a sudden it goes back to the whole thing about sports. I do think that like you said, especially in this day and age where we're so plugged into sports, and I feel like it's also something where not even just sports journalists like ourselves, but also even sports fans. I feel like that with all the technology and all the news that really comes out on sports on a regular basis, that I feel like, fans that may not necessarily be as plugged in as we are, since we've been in this game for a pretty good bit of time. I feel like that even casual fans that, I feel like even casual fans or even diehard fans that are just sports fans, I feel like that there is so much round the clock coverage of sports or anything that it's one of those issues where when all of a sudden sports start, whether it's the NBA, whether it's the W, whether it's MLS, whether it's MLB, whether it's NFL or college football, they're automatically going to start, being like, all of a sudden start talking about their teams. Like, you made a, like down there in Athens, Jeremy, like the second they announce something going on with Georgia football, where's everybody going to start going? They're going to start calling it at 9:60 a.m. and going to start talking about their dogs. That's just how we are as fans. But I also think that there is somewhat of a flip side to it too. I think that to a
Keem
certain
called out the AM station in Athens. I just want to shout that out real quick.
Hey, look, like, hey, I'm anybody who knows me, I'm Mr. Radio. So I can shout out the Georgia station, I can shout out the LSU station, I can shout out the Mississippi station, I can shout out the Carolina or the Kentucky station. Like, I'm just all plugged in. Shout out Matt Jones too.
Hey,
Kentucky
and when he
Sports
said
Radio.
I didn't even think. I thought like, oh man, King from Athens. I was just like, wait a minute.
Hey,
He
Not
called
the
it
FM, not the FM.
the AM.
That man got a Rolodex.
Sports. They don't even have an FM. If they did have an FM, I would pitch Jeremy for a show in a heartbeat. I would pitch Jeremy for a show in a heartbeat, just like I pitched Shad for a show, or I'd pitch Eric for a show in Baton Rouge talking LSU. One thing I will say though, I will say this. I feel like it's one of those issues where there's so much that's going on to a point where I really don't think that to even lots of even casual fans, I feel like it's one of those things where sports kind of just isn't necessarily on a lot of people's minds. Like I know that they letting 5,000 people into Talladega today. I know that for sure. I still don't understand that. But I feel like it's one of those issues where even when sports come back, and I think we talked about this a couple of episodes ago, even when the NBA comes back, and if Major League Baseball comes back, and I'm not feeling so good about that, but I feel like that even once all these sports come back, somebody was just telling me the other day that I was just having a casual chat with, like, it's so weird to watch sports. Like, they was just watching a UFC fight the other night. It's so weird to watch sports without fans. It just doesn't feel like it. And even when you watch sports and you see that there's virtually little to no fans in the stands, it's still such a reminder of everything that's really going on, with the pandemic, and even with the protests. Even though the protests and the pandemic are two entirely different things, it's such a stark reminder. And that's why, really and truly, I kind of get exactly where dudes like Kyrie are coming from, because really and truly, this is kind of a perfect storm, because things like this have happened before. Things like this isn't the first time that that a black person was killed in cold blood, and all of a sudden we started protesting. This is really the first time that really something like this has happened, and we started protesting, and literally everybody had to pay attention to what was really going on, because there really wasn't anything sports-wise to really distract us. There really wasn't anything like entertainment-wise to even distract us, for the most part. So when you think about it, it's sort of, it's an issue where it's like, oh, this is happening, and now we have no choice but to discuss all these things, because because we don't have anything to distract us. And because of that, I feel like really and truly, even to lots of people that probably even would consider themselves sports fans, they're probably not even really all that into sports, at the very least right now, until stuff starts going back to normal, which, who knows if that'll be this year or next year. But I just feel like it's one of those things where lots of people are paying attention, like you said, because they have no choice but to.
I think that's a good point, Akeem. And just thinking about me as a sports fan, like I tried to watch a UFC fight when it first started. It was like the first sporting event to happen since the pandemic started, and I was just like, man, this feels weird, and I really didn't feel whole watching it. So I kind of turned it off. I was just like, yeah, I don't want to watch it. Now I've been watching NASCAR, because NASCAR is easier to watch, just because you don't see the fans anyway, and you don't feel the fans' energy unless you're there at the track. So that's been fine. But yeah, I couldn't imagine an NBA playoffs without hearing seeing the towels going. Like, it just doesn't feel right. And then it's like you'll think about all the stuff that's going on, because you don't hear that atmosphere around it. So yeah, I mean, I do see that happening to a point, but then also I fear that it'll get pushed down, just like kind of like people are saying. It's like because I saw that happen with Colin Kaepernick. I mean, how many times did we hear the debate? When I turn on ESPN, I want to hear about the sports. When I turn on a ball game, that's what's important to me. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see your protest. How many times did we hear that debate?
Why did Jamel Hill get pushed out?
Right. So it's like, okay, how will we retroactively go back and apologize to those people that were hurt by that stance back then? Because now I don't think people have changed. I think their attention span has changed over the last 2 years. That's why all this stuff happening today is not based off people's change of heart. It's just the cool thing to do right now. That's what scares me the most, is because I don't want this to be the cool thing. I would rather this be happening in the middle of a Super Bowl. Like I wish the Super Bowl was next week and it was normal and this was going on, because then we'd really see what our country thinks of us. So
for sure. And then another thing, a more lighthearted question, I guess. Who do you think is the player in the NBA who's going to be like the biggest cheerleader, like who's going to be at every single game that's not his? Who do y'all think is going to be?
Probably LeBron.
They would probably want to have LeBron at every single game for sure, because obviously
every single game that's not him. Go ahead, Kim. My bad.
Oh, no problem, man. You cool. But yeah, they probably would want to have LeBron at every single game, just because of the fact that he's LeBron and he's the face of the league.
If Trae Young was allowed to go into the bubble, I could see him. I mean, he just
Trae loves ball, man.
He loves ball,
and he loves the cameras on him too.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of guys that just like ball. And the first two that came to my head
Donovan Mitchell's a guy like that.
Donovan Mitchell.
But I don't know. But him being like one of the first COVID guys, I don't know if he wants to. That's the thing with
like
LeBron too. I don't know if LeBron wants to be out there like that. You know what I'm saying? Like we were talking about that LSU or whoever's program it was, Clemson. That's what you're saying. When they came and there was 2 cases and then they went around each other and then it expanded to 26. So it's like, I don't know if Bron is going to be out there like that just due to that fact. I think if anybody's going to protect themselves and not leave their room that much, it's going to be LeBron James, because
we got to realize LeBron's 30-something.
Going to the WNBA bubble just to watch all the New York Liberty games, because they just drafted so many Louisville players, and Donovan Mitchell himself is a Louisville alum. So
yeah, sir. Yeah, I also, onto that, I wonder if people are going to be like, the reaction to you bring up Donovan Mitchell and like Rudy Gobert, like no shade, but I also wonder like how's that gonna be being in that bubble?
Yeah, I think they're gonna have a flagrant foul on Rudy that first game. Flagrant foul on Rudy.
Yes. I think Matt Barnes said that, like he was like, "Yo, it's gonna be a little irritating with him. He might get a little roughed up, boy. I never see this." I was like, damn. I didn't think about players that really might be targeting Rudy Gobert when he gets back. They always want to dunk on him anyway. He always gets dunked on a lot anyway. But like, bro, that's gonna be interesting, man.
Man, Jokic lost some weight to get on him.
You saw him?
He said, "I'm gonna lose this weight. I'm gonna take care of Rudy."
That didn't look. Mark lost weight too. Mark Gasol. And what I was saying with that was
really?
a lot of NBA players. What you think of the NBA lifestyle? You eat so much because you get a spread at the arena if you're the away team.
James Harden lost a lot of weight too.
And then you get a spread back at the hotel waiting for you too. And then you think about traveling from city to city, all the social eatings you do with people across the country. So it's like you eat a lot as an NBA player during the season.
Dude.
And
they say even Steven Adams
lose the weight. Oh wow,
Steven Adams is somebody who, I don't know if he's lost weight, but he's just, to your eating point, that man eats like 4 or 5. I think Russell Westbrook said he's ate with him before. And he's like, bro, that dude is like a monster. Like he eats 4 or 5
Steven Adams
plates,
is like real life Thor, bro. He's real.
Yeah,
life.
I was about to say he's literally Thor. So that's a very large.
Like he's setting the pick. I'm thinking about being a point guard, and I'm thinking about having to go around him, and he's setting the pick. And nah, bro, that's a wrap, bro.
Y'all remember that shot we had in New Orleans this year? The shot from the other free throw.
Yeah, he just like
threw it in like a free throw.
Yeah, it was like off his pinky.
That was. Yeah,
He's too
Thor,
strong, bro.
He's Thor.
I know. I just brought up James Harden, but I wonder how many players are thinking like James was thinking. I've heard. I don't know. I think I glanced at a story. I'm not sure of this. Is that I think he had some kind of underlying health condition, maybe.
Really?
And he decided that since he knew they were going to go into a bubble type situation, he decided to change his diet and he lost a lot of weight. Now, does that make him a better player, or is that the thinking of a lot of guys just to get healthier in general, knowing that they're about to put themselves?
I remember. Do you remember, Jeremy, when LeBron, Carmelo, CP, I don't know, I think Wade did it too, but the Banana Boat crew, when them dudes all lost a hell of weight one summer, this was like back in like, was this 2000? I can't
First
remember.
went back to Cleveland, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was because Melo was still with the Knicks.
The Knicks, yeah.
Yeah, and
I
think so. But they
remember
all,
that now. I remember that now because LeBron lost weight.
remember?
It was like a big deal. But yeah, I
He looked
also
so
remember
weak.
they showed a picture of Melo. I think that might have been Hoodie Melo summer, if I'm not mistaken.
That might have been him.
It wasn't. Okay.
Hoodie Melo was as LeBron was getting ready to go to the Lakers, I believe. I believe that was 2 summers ago.
Yeah, Hoodie Melo was like OKC.
Yeah.
He did, yeah. Okay, so yeah, he was
Okay,
on
That's
Hoodie.
crazy. Hoodie Melo was his worst season, bro.
That really was.
And
Did all that.
That summer, worst actual season.
Yeah,
the
but they lost
tricked.
a lot of weight though, Jeremy. They lost a lot of weight,
They
and it
did.
didn't really. But they put it back on during the season, and it didn't really make much of a difference, bro. I just didn't know why they lost so much weight. LeBron lost like 30 pounds or something.
They
James
said
needs
that
joints,
joke.
man.
They said that joke of Jokic is basically Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
You remember Jokic because you get skinny, you just Magic Johnson, big man that can pass.
That can pass. That's really it.
Watch him turn into KD now.
That's crazy. I was like,
Can you imagine
those people
Jokic coming down the court?
I was just like, what? I didn't believe when they showed that. That's him. His jeans look a little baggier.
They played the Hawks when they played the Hawks last year. This year they showed the preview of it, and he threw a pass behind his back, and I was just like, "What?" Like,
he scored a career high against the Hawks. I was sick, bro. This dude had like 44, bro. Like, that's a bad.
I want to see the list of everybody who has a career high against us too, though, because I'm sure it's like
I'm on it.
Long list.
Especially in the 2000s. You don't want it?
I'm on it.
I know Vince Carter's definitely on it. Probably Vince Carter.
The early 2000 team, when when we were just trash with like, come on, with Kruger as our coach. Like, I know everybody was getting off on us. I know everybody was going off.
Everybody,
like,
everybody.
Come on. But remember, J.R. Smith used to come and whoop our, like,
yeah.
If you look at J.R. Smith's best games.
Shannon Fry too.
Shannon Fry used to go off on us. See?
Yeah, bro. They set that record. Remember in that playoff series, they had like what 33s in the game.
Yeah, bro. They did not miss.
JR and Shannon Fry, bro, look like the Splash Brothers, bro.
That's
I was just like, I don't even have to do anything. This is weird.
Yeah, he's just dishing it. He's just like, I ain't gotta do nothing. The Hawks fan. Welcome to being a Hawks fan, bro. You got J.R. Smith going off on you, Shannon Fry.
I think the arena record is still like Allen Iverson for points in the game.
Really?
Yeah.
What did you put out on us? 50?
Like 55 or something like that. Because Sharif Abdul-Rahim had 50. Trey had 50 this year. That was the most since Sharif Abdul-Rahim.
Oh, you said arena high. My bad.
Yeah, arena high. So I think Iverson's at like 52 or 54. So
for some reason,
but the fact,
remember Brandon Jennings having a big game or something against the Hawks.
Yeah, but that was in Milwaukee. But like there should be no reason why like an opposing player should have like your arena career high.
Dog. Welcome to, I'm sure Knicks fans will look at you right now and be like,
oh yeah. Bro, they be ready to play in the Garden. They're like, I love playing in the Garden. So why don't you come to the Knicks? Oh,
I'm good with playing there once or twice a year.
That's so crazy though. Like, people get so hyped to play in MSG, but don't want to play for the Knicks.
They don't want
like, the tradition. Basketball was literally born at mid-floor with the Knicks logo. That's where basketball was born, and just the rich history. So what about the Knicks? Man, nobody care about the Knicks no more, man. Like that's literally what Kevin Durant said, bro.
All the
God
Knicks
damn.
fans are now Brooklyn Nets fans. Remember that. They
Yeah,
pack in
yeah.
Barclays for games.
Oh yeah,
No, they
especially
really
after
are,
this
bro.
Black Lives Matter thing.
Right.
Yeah.
That was their little their moment right there, because they had the Spike deal and the Charles Oakley deal, but now it's like they're done with the Knicks for real.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, oh,
The
that's,
Knicks.
yeah. The Knicks are just like, the Knicks are so like, pretty much like yesterday's team, like last decade's team, really, when you think about it. Like, people even in New York, and people aren't even really fooling with the Knicks anymore.
God, it's so over this, bro. It's just funny because like nothing they can do can top any like it's like they've seen it all before. Any Knicks fan they do something wild. Like remember how it took them 3 weeks to put out the thing, the response to the murder and all that, and people were just like, I really have never seen a fan base like that. So like numb to everything. I mean, yes, Falcons fans, we numb to it,
But why would you even
they're
think
so
that's
numb,
a good
bro.
idea? Like you guys are already the Knicks. Like if I were you, I would be trying to do everything as PC as possible, bro. Like
Yes.
that literally
Yo,
makes no sense. It's like out
you
of all
said you are
franchise.
already the Knicks.
Exactly.
No, really, you have no room for error. That's what you're trying to say. They have no room for error. You got to get this right, and they still get it right, bro. I don't know.
Literally,
I mean,
just post a black square, man. Just post a black square. Call it a day.
Exactly.
They made it easy for you. You didn't even have to say the word black. Just post the
Remember
black square.
Paul Pierce did something like this. Remember that? He didn't know how to do a black square. He had this like thumb on it. I was like, the Knicks. That man did this. I was like, Paul, what are you doing? If the Knicks would have done that, I would have been like, no shocker, bro. No shocker. I don't know, man.
Yo, what's wrong with Paul Pierce, man?
He can't do anything right. He is the Knicks. He can't do anything right.
He said the
seeing the
Warriors
ghost of
gonna
Joe
win a
Johnson.
championship in the next 3 years.
Say again.
He said the Warriors gonna win another championship in the next 3 years.
He said the Warriors.
Yeah.
What?
I can see that.
That's not too
They
far
lucky,
fetched,
man.
but it
No, that's
is.
not. If
It
he had
does
said
look
the
kind of
Knicks, that'd have
crazy.
been crazy.
No, but they're so lucky. They get a top 3 pick, and then both their superstars are coming back. Like, bro,
That's
And they
what,
still
no,
got cap
the
space.
Spurs did the
Ever
same
happened.
thing 20 years ago, so we can't complain. Spurs
What
did
happened?
the same thing. Spurs did the same thing 20 years ago, so we can't.
Oh, when they
complain.
got Timmy? Yeah, when they got
Yeah.
Timmy?
When,
Yeah,
David
true.
Robinson went to the
David
Army.
Robinson.
He went to
Right?
the Navy. They got that number 1 pick. He came back. Dynamic duo. Nah, bro, it don't work like that. First season they
Yeah.
win a championship. That's a
I
little
don't think
fishy to me.
Celtics
No
fans
one
are
bring
still
it up
over the
because
fact
it's
that they
Tim.
got fleeced on that Timmy D deal.
What you
Say
say?
I don't think Celtics fans are still over the fact that they feel like that they got fleeced on that Timmy Duncan deal.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they never get over. They don't. Well, Celtics fans don't get over anything. They're still upset about like, bro. They
Don't they got
Bro,
like
I
20 championships? Relax.
yeah, they get upset about every single deal. They're still mad. Well, they're still waiting for their championship now with this young core that they assume
It's
will
not gonna
win it
happen.
all. But yeah,
It's not gonna happen. I think all of their young players are overrated. I don't think
Nah.
Jason is that great. I'm sorry.
You think Jason Tatum's overrated?
Yes.
I think Brad Stevens is
I
not who
don't
they
think
think
he's overrated. I think he's like fairly rated. Like
I think
he
people
gets a good amount of hype. Like
People
that's
are
the
trying
hype
to
he
make him
deserves.
into
He
the
had a great
next
season.
superstar. He's just a guy to me, and he's really good at scoring. But yay, he's not
I
exciting.
feel like Brandon Ingram should get as much hype as Jason Tatum, and he
Yeah,
doesn't.
they're about the same to me.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're in that
he
same
doesn't.
together, but he doesn't. So
That's kind
that's
of
what
like
bothers
messed
me.
up.
I'm like, okay, Brandon Ingram's just as talented, and Trae Young's more
Yeah,
talented
but
than both of them.
New
So
Orleans should be getting more hype than Boston, but they don't.
Because it's
I
New
agree.
Orleans versus Boston. Boston's a bigger market.
yeah,
And
They-
New Orleans is a football city, Louisiana football state.
I know.
yeah, the
Bro,
franchise
they
is
can't
run by
even.
football people. I've never understood that, to be honest. But that's a weird dynamic going on there with that franchise.
Yeah, bro, they don't even seem like they really all in on the team. Every time I see the Pelicans, they don't even. It doesn't even feel like they're all in. It feels like the players have to convince them that we are a basketball team. Because yeah, that whole city don't really fight. Yeah, like on big games, you'll see them when some of the national TV games, they look like they were, to an extent full or whatever. But like their history says it all. Like they almost sold. They like have plenty of times been on the market to like thinking about being
Seattle.
sold or different owners. They've talked about it. So it's like, bro, they talked about relocating. It's for a reason because it's just that's not a basketball.
They
city.
literally have the most exciting
as soon as that
team.
team goes to
That's
Vegas,
when Zion went there, huh?
They have the most exciting team in the NBA, and no one's
Most
talking
exciting
about
team, bro.
No one's
And-
talking about Drew Holiday, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson. That's
They're
just,
fun to
just
watch.
5 people.
Yeah, they're fun to watch. They really are.
That's
Send them to
crazy. They have
Vegas.
a squad, man.
Yeah.
Seattle. I say
I feel like that's
move them to Seattle.
Yo, no, I feel like that's going to end up happening. It might be like a KD Seattle thing where like they start there. They're really because KD and them were fun to watch in Seattle, and then obviously relocating to Oklahoma City and all that. But that might happen with the Pelicans. Maybe they'll relocate somewhere else in a couple of years, and you know what I mean. Like, and then it becomes a thing where it's like maybe that it helps. But right now, I just remember when KD was there, it was like his first season was like it was fun to watch. With Seattle fans were going crazy for him, whatever. But he was in it's like the flip version of this because it's like he was actually in a basketball heart. They just were about to lose the team. But like this here, it's like
Seattle reparations.
I don't think they're gonna stay long. Yeah, right. I think Zion goes to Seattle and all that. That'd be dope. But I don't think the Pelicans are gonna stay in New Orleans for the long haul. Yeah, I don't see it happening.
I'm trying to think of another franchise that could move to Seattle other than New Orleans, and it would probably be Memphis, maybe.
Memphis is definitely a candidate.
They're talking
Memphis is
about
also another
Memphis,
one
but
that's
I
fun to
don't know,
watch.
man. That city is so like because they were really behind that team a few years ago when they were good. So it's like
Grind City. Yeah.
So
They fit their
I don't want to
personality.
see Memphis lose their team, man.
I don't
wanna
either.
see Memphis.
I don't
I don't want
either,
to see anybody lose their team, but if certain cities, it's like okay, if they lose it, they lose it.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the NBA is at a point where you can't add a whole nother franchise either, because like now you're starting to spread the butter too thin at this point.
Because they said they wanted to get a team in what, and obviously the team in Las Vegas, and they wanted to get even a Mexico City. Exactly.
Yeah.
They wanted a team in Mexico
that's
City.
the G League. Yeah.
Take
G League?
the Hornets from Michael Jordan. He don't know what he's doing anyway.
I can do a whole
really
show about the Hornets.
I think if Mike would love to go to Mexico though. But if they could relocate, Mike going with them to Mexico, bro. He get all the cigars, he get all the yak he want to drink on, and all that. He'll be living good in Mexico.
Exactly. Yeah, that sounds like a definite plan if you ask me. Like if he were to do that, but for sure.
Just don't take the Hawks though. Just don't take the Hawks. Like
the Hawks aren't moving. Atlanta's
no,
too.
the Hawks aren't moving. Just don't take us. Yeah.
Hawks are on that market too of teams that can move. Let's not try to ignore it just because it's Atlanta. They on that market too.
Right when they get interesting, that's when they want to move.
Yeah, right.
Georgia. That would be purity Georgia. The only place the Hawks are going to move, they may move to Cobb. They may move to Cobb right beside the Braves. But I don't think they're moving out of Atlanta.
Bro, if they move to Cobb, I'm done, bro. I'm not doing it.
I can see it.
Not doing it.
I can see it.
When the Braves went, it's okay. I don't care because it's like the Braves can go. I don't give a damn if the Braves was playing in Cairo, Georgia, or they was in wherever. Like, go wherever the hell you want. They can play in Valdosta, but the Hawks, nah, I can't have it.
The Braves can't play in Rome. The Rome Braves, the professional version. The majors.
They playing Statesboro. Go ahead. I don't care if the Braves can went to Statesboro. I don't care.
Oh, man.
They used to, but they moved up to Gwinnett. They the Gwinnett Stripers now. The Rome Braves. No. That's the Virginia Braves. I'm thinking about the Richmond Braves. Anyways, RashadMillen.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Hey Lexi.
You know what it is, Eric your boy. You know what I mean? Follow on Twitter. The handle is what it is. I am a Detroit rapper at heart. That's all I listen to. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Lonnie Bands. Shout out to Sada Baby. Yeah, Detroit stand up.
Jeremy Johnson, Clark underscore.
I'm sorry.
T Grizzly?
Jeremy Johnson, Clark Kent _75. And at least I'm not the Knicks. That's all I got to say.
Akeem Balaam, Twittergram, Beyond the W, Prep Girls Hoops. Check it out. Happy birthday, my niece Cartier up in New York. Shout out. Peace, all
sure. Happy Father's Day. Know it.
Y'all must thought that I was gone with spread the whole time. Mistress, diamonds they wear like go fishing. Y'all know I'm friends, I want Audis.
Audi. I don't want cars, I want Rarries. I don't want friends.